The Indian Miss World and the Rage of Muslims of the World. A novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This book continues the story of the Arab sugar daddy and the beautiful Indian girl, and also the story of the Indian child bride and the old Arab husband. They have been written in English and translated into Arabic by the author Dr. Ahmed. This story resonates with genuine love, strong resilience, and steadfast courage. I invite you to accompany me as I continue narrating the story of the rare, fabulous beauty of the Indian girl, Ifat Khan, and her extremely beautiful mother, Rehana Khan. Before we dive in the tapestry of the story, I would like to remind the reader this novel is narrated in 6 books. Book 1, The Arab Sugar Daddy and the Beautiful Indian Girl. Book 2, The Indian Child Bride and the Old Arab Husband. Book 3, The Indian Miss World and the Rage of Muslims of the World. Book 4, Christina and the Complete Jew. Book 5, The Tears of God, Jews, Blacks, and Muslim Women. And Book 6, The Hidden Life of the Prophet Muhammad. This is an intriguing epic story which exhibits resilience, love, and sacrifice. Book 3. From a Slum Girl to the Queen of the World Beauty. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief passages from a review for printing in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. All characters in this novel are fictional, and any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is merely coincidental. Chapter 61. The Rebellion of the Hindu Bride Pooja. Rani Krishna has no plans to travel now or soon to allow her adopted Muslim daughter, who converted to Hinduism, to return to America at this point. She wants her daughter to have her first child with her Hindu husband before any travel plans. Rani believed that, in the long run, separation from her Muslim captor and infant daughter would strengthen her relationship with her Hindu husband, and her previous infatuation with the bad Muslim man Jamal Khan would fade into a nightmare of the past. But Rahul has different ideas. He is keen to complete the second installment of his dowry and add his name to the house deed in America. In the end, Pooja may change her mind and leave him before he gets his full share of the agreed-upon dowry, which is $10 million. He doesn't care what happens next. Cunningly, he concealed his impatience and hidden selfish motives and claimed the necessity of finishing his final year of medical school. He claimed that his long absence from the medical program could lead to his being removed from the college's register. He stressed that he had already been away for a semester, so being kicked out of college could be a big possibility. Faced with the loss of what is probably the most important attribute of her son-in-law, Rani Krishna has no intention of losing the social status of introducing her son-in-law as Dr. Rahul Patel, MD, Harvard University, USA. The Hindu mother suggested that her son-in-law return alone and leave his wife with her. Rahul, who was not entirely comfortable with the idea of leaving his rich wife, insisted on taking Mrs. Pooja Patel with him. He has no intention of returning to India soon. When they reached an impasse, Rani suggested that Pooja get pregnant by her Hindu husband Rahul and bear his child before leaving for the United States. It seemed like a compromise, and Pooja was 1 month pregnant when the three returned to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Harvard. The months she spent living with her husband and mother in New Delhi made Pooja unusually silent and docile. She allowed her mother to make all the decisions on her behalf. After all, in a strange way, Rani was able to control her behavior and make her a robot. She married Rahul, however, under protest. She accepted all the orders of her Hindu mother and the suggestions of her Hindu husband. Although her Hindu husband did not beat her or imprison her like her previous captors Ahmed and Mahmood, it was actually a more difficult time for her. Mentally, although she is still a child in many respects, she has the needs and desires of a grown-up girl. She has all the trappings of marriage, but no lover. Perhaps things would have been different for her if she had never tasted the joy of being able to choose for herself. The concept of choice and the freedom it entails is now only a fleeting memory. Like a bird that has finally been allowed to fly for a few months, but has now returned to its former golden cage and palace of oppression, her resentment for her Hindu husband begins to assert itself and impose itself through coercion. For the first time in her life, Pooja begins to understand the value of love and freedom. It was Uncle Jimmy's love that entered her heart and illuminated it with freedom. It was freedom that began to illuminate her dark mind and brought indescribable joy to her bleeding heart. She understood that all human beings are born free, but it is people and society that take away this freedom. In order to be free, she realized she had to make some difficult choices. She should stop pleasing everyone around her and start making her own decisions instead of letting others decide for her. Since she was 7 years old, she was deprived of her freedom by an evil old Saudi man and turned into a beautiful and sexy sex slave until she met her Uncle Jimmy and fell in love with him. He filled her heart with happiness and enlightened her mind with freedom. But then her Hindu husband Rahul entered her life and enslaved her again. In order for her to gain her freedom again, social laws must bend and religious values must decline. She has to choose between her Hindu mother and her Muslim lover. She is thinking about cohabiting with her Muslim lover without benefiting from the marital bond, despite her upbringing. She will not care about religious or class differences. As long as she's not limited by her choices, and she's a consenting adult, the rest of the world has to deal with it. She will not notice or care if people describe them as adulterers and consider their children to be haram or illegitimate sons and daughters. The Indian wife Pooja, her Hindu husband Rahul, and her mother Rani left New Delhi and returned to the United States when she was 1.5 months pregnant. During their absence, Amrita Khan's $5 million+ home, which she created for her Muslim lover Uncle Jimmy and their daughter Rehana, remained locked. It's like an abandoned castle. Also, it is like a dead body, or a ghost house haunted by demons without her handsome lover and her beloved daughter. During her lover's trial, she heard some people referred to her daughter as a love child. She thought that the words could either be a compliment to her beautiful daughter or a sign that she had made a mistake. In general, her sadness is not just that her mother and husband are living together with her. It is the culmination of a regime that also deprived her of her daughter and her lover. These two situations made it impossible for her to reconcile the fact that her Hindu mother had her best interests in mind. It is better for her to know what her interests are. Her home, now stripped of the people who left, has become tainted by the presence of the people who created her hell when she was in New Delhi. She knows that she cannot bring life and happiness back to her golden palace unless she first rids it of intrusive guests and returns its rightful occupants, her imprisoned king, her Uncle Jimmy, and their stolen princess, the child Rihanna. It is now clear to her that her Muslim lover and precious daughter are a much higher priority than her Hindu mother Rani and her Hindu husband Rahul. Pooja understood her problem, but her problem-solving skills prevented her from finding a practical solution. She still has many options. She can tell her mother that everything that happened to her and her child in India was wrong and hurtful to them. She can also put her foot down and declare that she does not want to live with her Hindu husband because she does not love him, and he does not love her. She could easily refuse to pay for the second installment of her dowry and not give him a share of the ownership of her beautiful house. She can tell Rahul to go to hell. If they objected, she would just have to remind them that they were no longer in India. This is America, and it defends individual freedom and freedom of choice. Rani and Rahul can't do anything to force her to stay in a marriage she never wanted in the first place. The 7 Hindu promises she made to her Hindu husband in front of the Indian pundit who performed their wedding were no longer of any importance to her. Instead, Pooja decides to solve her problem like a teenage girl separated by her mother from her handsome lover. Then her mother forced her to marry someone else. She decided to abandon her beautiful palace and run away. She does not want to live with her Hindu mother and Hindu husband again. She is afraid that they will force her to stay with them forever and not allow her to meet or live with her handsome Muslim lover again. Pooja knew that there was only 1 month left for her imprisoned Muslim lover to be released. So she decided to live in a hotel for a month, and when her Uncle Jimmy is released, she must meet him again in front of the prison of men, as they met for the first time in the past in front of the prison of women. After that, she must convince him to run away with her to another city, or another country, where they can start over their love life inside another palace and live happily ever after. Pooja escaped in the early morning hours while her husband and mother were asleep. Before fleeing, she cut the sacred Hindu thread, the Mangal Sutra, from around her neck and placed it on a table in the living room. She took nothing with her except her small handbag. Her handbag contains her identity documents like her valid Indian passport, bank book and checkbook. Her mother handed her papers and personal effects the night before to accompany her husband to the bank the next morning and transfer the remaining $5 million to his account as his dowry. Her mother also handed her the ownership papers for her house. She had asked her to go with her husband to a lawyer to add his name to the property deed to include his name as a co-owner of her home. Pooja ran away at a time when her Hindu husband needed her most. Rahul wanted to get his remaining share of the dowry. After receiving the rest of the $5 million and adding his name to the house deed, the Hindu husband Rahul Patel planned to return to India as soon as possible and settle his family inheritance left by his late mother Mrs. Lakshmi Patel. By marrying his cousin Aphrodite Krishnakhan, he has fulfilled his late mother's condition to wed her niece, and is now eligible to inherit the 5 crore rupees from his mother's bank balance and her house in Baroda worth 1.5 crore. When these assets are safe in his account, he will return to his wife Pooja's side. His motives are simple. Pooja is a simple and naive girl, and he is going to steal as many of her millions of dollars as possible. After that, he will divorce her and find a suitable wife who is educated and enlightened like his American ex-girlfriend Emily. Pooja repulses him from her as a wife. She is lower than his social status and below his academic station. He found her naive, childish, uncivilized, and uneducated. She lacks many other skills of the modern wife. The way his Hindu wife Pooja talks and acts makes him think of the naive, remote villagers in third-world countries. So he considered it impossible that a Harvard graduate like him would be tied down to a simple girl like Pooja for the rest of his life. When her husband, Rahul, and her mother, Rani, finally woke up, their enthusiasm for the day's activities was gone. The wealthy wife Pooja is missing, and the thread of her sacred Mangal Sutra is cut from her neck and lying on the table in the living room. The abandoned sacred thread told them everything. They both realized that bringing her to America was perhaps the worst mistake they could have ever made. The Hindu mother knew deep in her heart exactly why this happened. Despite her escape, her mother Rani decides to play the old game of manipulation again. She convinced her brother-in-law Rahul to go to the police and file a complaint. Her Hindu husband has become more disturbed and saddened in his heart than his angry mother-in-law Rani. In his complaint to the police, he stated that his Indian wife, Pooja Patel, had been kidnapped. The Hindu mother also reported to the police about the psychological state of her adopted Muslim daughter. She mentioned in her statement that her kidnapped daughter suffers from some psychological problems, and therefore she is unable to take care of herself. She also clearly said that her missing daughter was mentally retarded. The U.S. police authority did not deem it appropriate to question the claims of the mother and husband and issued a comprehensive search warrant for the missing Indian wife, Pooja Patel. The police department also did not ask why the Indian husband, Rahul Patel, married this mentally retarded girl. Chapter 62. Meeting the first Muslim wife, Mrs. Khan. The shrewd Hindu mother Rani Krishna is not satisfied with the police complaint filed by her and her son-in-law. She wants to make it impossible for her adopted daughter to live with her Muslim lover again. She wants the support of the Hindu community in supporting her case that her married Hindu daughter left her Hindu husband and eloped with a married Muslim man who had another Muslim wife and children. She is also considering submitting her complaint to the Imam of Muslims at the biggest mosque in town, as well as the imams of other Islamic mosques. She wants to make both the Muhajiriyan, or immigrant communities, understand that what the married Muslim man Jamal Khan aka Uncle Jimmy did, and is still doing to her married Hindu daughter Pooja Patel, is a huge religious violation and also a social disgrace to Hindus as well as Muslims in America. The terribly angry Hindu woman Rani Krishna realized that the long separation had done nothing to quell her daughter's love and infatuation for the third, evil Muslim captor. She understood that the only thing that could help her in her case was Jimmy's other spouse, his number one Muslim wife. All she has to do is convince Jimmy's first wife to stay married to her Muslim husband. In this way, her daughter's marriage to her Muslim lover will always attract the long arm of the law. But the Hindu mother does not know where Uncle Jimmy lived with his Muslim wife and their children before he went to prison. She doesn't even know the name of his first wife. What she does know is Jimmy's full name, which was mentioned so many times during the trial that she knew it by heart, Mr. Jamal Khan. A quick look in the local phone book yielded his address. She took her brother-in-law and went to meet Mr. Jamal Khan's Muslim wife. Rahul has already been briefed by her so that he can play his role. Rani wondered out loud how much financial bribe a woman would need to remain married to her wayward husband. Rahul liked the idea of bribing Mrs. Khan and was already ready to leave with his incredibly angry mother-in-law. Mrs. Khan is a simple woman and a housewife. She has 2 sons with her imprisoned husband and 1 son born to her before she married Jamal Khan, known as Jimmy. Although her husband cheated on her with a girl 20 years younger than him, she remained loyal to him and loved him. She learned of his relationship with Aphrodite Krishna Khan before the case went to trial. But as a Muslim woman, her religious leaders and the Imam of the mosque convinced her that her Muslim husband had the right to marry 4 wives at the same time. According to their belief, God created the man physically stronger, and therefore he needs more than 1 wife to grant him chastity and make him refrain from committing adultery or having sexual relations with other women without a permissible halal Islamic marriage. Moreover, her unfaithful husband promised her that he would continue to love her and treat her as an equal to his second Muslim wife. Mrs. Khan knew that divorcing her husband was a lonely road that she was not prepared to walk alone. It could mean losing her husband and living a life of perpetual celibacy and loneliness. At the age of 40, she is considered an old woman by the estimation of Indian Muslims. It would be almost impossible for her to find another Muslim man to marry her. So she accepted her kismet, or lot in life, and agreed to share her husband with his second Muslim wife. Her Muslim husband kept his promise and did not abandon her. He spent the days and nights with his new Muslim wife, Aphrodite. Sadly, he rarely had sex with her from that point on. When the police arrested and detained her husband, Jamal Khan, his first Muslim wife Mrs. Khan was overjoyed. She thanked God 1,000 times for separating her husband from his second young Muslim wife. She visited him in prison weekly for several months without fail, hoping to mend the rift between them. Parental with their imprisoned father, she also brings her children so that they can renew and revive the connection. In the months he spent in prison, Jamal began to appreciate and love his first Muslim wife again. Therefore, the husband, Uncle Jimmy, repeatedly told his first Muslim wife that he was no longer interested in being with his second Muslim wife. When there were only 4 weeks left before Mr. Khan was released from prison, Mrs. Khan decided to celebrate her husband's release by throwing a big feast, and inviting every Indian Muslim man and Muslima woman she knew in the city. However, the unexpected visit of Rani Krishna and Rahul Patel will be the catalyst for many changes in Mr. Khan's first marriage. Before their visit, Mr. Jamal Khan's first wife and second wife had never met. The first wife learned of her husband's infidelity and his second wife when the birth certificate of their daughter, Rehana Khan, mistakenly arrived at her home address. Although the two rival wives knew each other, that was the extent of their knowledge. When the first Muslim wife, Mrs. Khan, met and talked to the Hindu mother of her husband's second Muslim wife, their encounter led to a series of events that neither of them could have predicted. It turns out that Mrs. Khan is none other than the mother of the poor Muslim girl, Ifat Khan. Mrs. Khan is Rehana Khan, the long-suffering mother who took her daughter Ifat Khan to Saudi Arabia many years ago, and has not seen her since. The intelligent Hindu woman Rani Krishna did not stumble upon this fact by chance. There is an uncanny resemblance when she first sets eyes on Mrs. Khan. She immediately felt that something didn't feel right. Her age can't hide the fact that she's almost an exact copy of her adopted daughter, former slum girl Ifat Khan. Without thinking, Rani Krishna asked Rehana Khan if she had a daughter named Ifat Khan. Rehana has not heard anyone say her eldest daughter's name since the day the American intelligence agents of the CIA mentioned it to her after her trial in Jeddah City. From that day on, she felt guilty whenever she thought of her daughter. She blamed herself for not protecting her little 7-year-old daughter, and when she was released from prison, she hated herself for not being able to free her 11-year-old daughter from the clutches of her kidnapper and first rapist, Sheikh Fayez bin Ahmed. It is a dark and sad chapter in her life, which she rarely talks about, even to those close to her. Rahul and Rani's visit opened this chapter again, and all her pent-up feelings from the past rushed forward. When Rehana Khan admitted that she had a daughter named Ifat Khan, who she lost when she was 7 years old, Rani Krishna informed her that her missing daughter was now her adopted daughter Aphrodite, who became Pooja Patel. Rehana tried to find out how and when Rani found her eldest daughter, but the latter told the former that she had found her in prison in Mumbai, got her out on bail twice, took her home, and adopted her as her beloved daughter, Aphrodite Krishna Khan. Mother Rehana Khan did not ask for more details, but thanked Mother Rani Krishna for her love and kindness. She guessed that her only daughter must have gone through a lot of pain and suffering before her path crossed with that of a loving Hindu woman. The mother, Rani, said that her daughter Aphrodite was no longer a Muslim girl, but became a Hindu girl and married her sister's son, Rahul Patel, who received a higher education and who now sits next to her. In less than a year, Rahul will be a Harvard-educated doctor, she quickly added. That's why she asked her to keep her bad Muslim husband, Jamal Khan, away from her married Hindu daughter, Pooja Patel. Then she told her how her unfaithful husband, whom her Hindu daughter calls Uncle Jimmy, had deceived her daughter under the spell of love and made her pregnant with an illegitimate child without the sanctity of the Islamic marriage bond. Rehana Khan knew that she had stolen and deprived her daughter Ifat Khan of her childhood by taking her to a place where she suffered for a long time alone. After all these years, her daughter is still incredibly sad. As a mother, she decided that she was now in a position to do something for her beloved daughter. She tells Rani and Rahul that she feels ashamed to call herself Ifat Khan's mother. Then she told them of her decision to do the only motherly thing she could for her daughter. She wanted to ensure her daughter's happiness by allowing her to be with her lover, with her Uncle Jimmy. Now she is willing and determined to sacrifice her Muslim husband Mr. Jamal Khan in order to allow her daughter Ifat Khan to have a real chance at happiness. She begged Rani and Rahul not to reveal to her daughter that the three had met. She preferred Ifat to assume that her biological mother Rehana Khan had simply disappeared into oblivion. She does not want to appear in her daughter's life again after all these years and take away the only happiness her lost child knew, and be the reason for her continued misery and pain. She also begged them not to inform her imprisoned husband, Jamal Khan, that he had fallen in love with his stepdaughter, Ifat Khan. Nothing Rehana Khan said seemed to move the hearts of her unexpected guests. No amount of cajoling, begging, and pleading could make them remain silent and allow Ifat Khan, now known to them as Pooja Patel, to follow her heart. So, Rani and Rahul refused to budge. Mrs. Khan has inadvertently given them the leverage and weapon they need to move forward with their plans. The Hindu mother Rani Krishna now has more ammunition than she ever expected to get from Mrs. Khan. She came prepared to bribe her with a huge sum of money, grovel, and beg Rehana Khan to intervene and help her separate the two adulterers and prevent her bad husband from pursuing her married daughter who is no younger than his daughter. Her initial request was not to divorce her husband so that her daughter would not return to him. She said that by allowing her husband to have a shameful love affair with a married girl, he would be living in shame and breaking social law which is forbidden to do in Islam. Rani reminded Rihanna that she has 3 children to think about. How will her children react to the news that their father is still involved in a love affair with a girl young enough to be his daughter, who is in fact his stepdaughter? Mrs. Khan has just given Rani and Rahul a huge advantage. She hands them the weapon they need to kill her daughter's happiness. Rani and Rahul are really clear about the American laws regarding incest. Sexual relations between a stepfather and his stepdaughter simply cannot be tolerated. When Mr. Jamal Khan learns about his relationship with his stepdaughter, he will surely put an end to his shameful relationship with her. If he does not, there will be a heavy price to pay the moment the justice system begins to work. Their problem has resolved itself at this point, and Rani and Rahul decide to make the police station their next stop. They knew and understood that this new information would separate the adulterous lovers forever. The bad Muslim man Uncle Jimmy will once again be sent to jail for committing incest with his stepdaughter, and the rebellious wife Pooja Patel will return to her Hindu mother Rani Krishna and her husband Rahul Patel. Chapter 63. The strong emotional meeting between the two intimate lovers. By the time Rani and Rahul went to meet Rehana Khan, even before they had a chance to present their startling new findings to the police, the authorities had already identified the hiding place of the alleged kidnapped Hindu wife Pooja Patel. She was found holed up in the same hotel where she spent her wonderful honeymoon with her Muslim lover Uncle Jimmy. The police detained her for questioning. It didn't take long for them to realize that she had not been kidnapped. She readily admitted to escaping from her palace. The police decide to question her further, and Pooja decides to tell them everything. She told the investigating officer why she abandoned her Indian husband, Mr. Rahul Patel, and escaped from her Hindu mother, Rani Krishna. She tearfully recounted how her Hindu mother deceiving her when she said she wanted to help her find her biological Muslim mother, Rehana Khan, in Bombay. Between sobs, she told him how her Hindu mother had forcefully taken her firstborn baby daughter and given her up for adoption in a Christian orphanage in New Delhi. She also explained how she was forced to marry her cousin and paid him a huge dowry of 350 million Indian rupees, equivalent to $5 million, and was supposed to pay the same amount as his total share in his Hindu marriage to her. In addition, on the same day she ran away, she was supposed to go to a lawyer with him and add his name as a partner in her house, which has a market value of $5 million. But Pooja did not know that this type of dowry in an arranged marriage is considered theft in American law. As soon as she completed her sad story, the investigating officer decided that crimes had been committed against Mrs. Pooja Patel, and an arrest warrant was immediately issued against the two Indian suspects, Mrs. Rani Krishna and Mr. Rahul Patel. So the duo was arrested on the same day. When the two, the mother-in-law and the son-in-law, came to file a new complaint against Mr. Jamal Khan, they saved the police from pursuing them. The so-called high-priced Indian husband Mr. Rahul Patel is accused of kidnapping, rape, illegal detention, extortion, and theft. On the other hand, his Hindu mother-in-law Rani Krishna, is accused of participating in the above crimes and aiding and abetting them. Among all the charges, the police took seriously the allegations that a U.S. citizen kidnapped a child, forcibly deprived the mother of her baby daughter, and carried out an adoption abroad without the consent of the child's mother or her American father. Meanwhile, the first Muslim wife, distraught by current events, decides to write a letter to her husband in prison. Mrs. Khan announced in her letter that their marital relationship had ended and that she would file for divorce. She did not give any reason for her decision, but she reassured him that his children's visitation rights would not be objected to. She proposed unlimited and uncensored visitation rights. She confirmed that she no longer accepted him as her Muslim husband and his marital benefits had stopped. Mr. Khan was shocked when his first Muslim wife ended her letter by encouraging him to return to his second Muslim wife, Aphrodite Krishna Khan, and live with her as husband and wife. She added that she knew that his second wife still loved him and was impatiently awaiting his release. Mr. Khan knew instinctively that something had happened in his absence and decided that he must not abandon his first Muslim wife until he knew what had prompted her to take such a step. He believed that his second Muslim wife approached his first Muslim wife and claimed that she still loved him and perhaps told her that she would not leave him. He also suspected that she may have threatened her. Given her tendency to throw temper tantrums, she may have warned his first wife to stay out of his way or risk physical harm or death. In his situation, not knowing all the facts, Mr. Khan decided that it was best not to have anything to do with his second wife. If she refuses to abide by his decision, he must let the law take over. From that moment on, Mr. Khan's love for Amrita Khan grows colder with every day he spends behind bars. He lost his respect for her because since he was in prison, she had not visited him or allowed him to see his child, Rehana. There was no connection between them from the time he landed in jail. He concluded that her love was mere infatuation, and that passion and sex were merely fleeting moments shared, and could not stand the test of time. After many months of neglect and the benefit of hindsight, he regretted cheating on his beloved first Muslim wife, Rehana Khan, and falling in love with a childish girl like the Muslim girl in the black burqa, Amrita Khan. The arrival of his first wife's letter made for the most confusing day of his life while behind bars. Instead of looking forward to his release, he feels anxious and wonders about the sudden change of heart of his first Muslim wife. Her decision to end their relationship made no sense at all. Why did she remain loyal to him despite his betrayal? So why did she suddenly decide to leave him and file for divorce? Why did she keep coming to visit him in prison and bring him home-cooked food? Why did she visit him and bring their children with her? Why would she leave him and encourage him to return to the girl who was supposed to be her archenemy and her rival Muslim wife? Rehana Khan did not answer his phone calls at home and did not return to visit him in prison. Neither his first wife nor his second wife were present in the visiting room throughout the remainder of his imprisonment. For a long time, Mr. Khan had to live with the vivid memory of being arrested at home while in bed having sex with his beautiful and sexy young Muslim second wife, Amrita Khan. The American police stormed his second wife's house and tied him up like a criminal. He could still hear the voice of his second wife screaming and begging the police to let her husband go. It was one of the darkest and saddest days of his life. Often, he would wake up in the middle of the night in prison and start crying after having recurring nightmares. He blamed himself for causing so much pain in the heart of his rich young girlfriend, Miss World, and Bollywood actress Aphrodite. He regretted asking her to marry him. He knew all along that American law did not allow polygamy, but the fear of losing her led him to ignore secular law and resort to the loophole provided by his Islamic religion. If he had not married her, he would not have been arrested in such a humiliating way, and he would not have caused her so much suffering because of it. What disturbed his conscience more was the future of their beloved daughter, Rehana. Uncle Jimmy has no idea that his daughter was treated as an unwanted illegitimate child and dumped as an outcast daughter in a Christian orphanage in New Delhi. On the day of his release, Uncle Jimmy found his girlfriend Aphrodite Krishna Khan standing waiting for him in the same place in front of the men's prison as he had on the day he first met her in front of the women's prison gate when she was released from prison. He was incredibly surprised to see her standing without her black burqa, which in the past had become a part of her identity, like her black shadow. She is wearing a sleeveless shirt and shorts. Her beautiful, silk-like black hair reaches her knees. She looked a little larger than the last time he saw her. Her face was adorned with a wide smile, making her cheeks puffy, and her lips sweet enough to kiss. She has a large gold ring on her left nose, and her body is decorated from head to toe with a gold necklace, bracelets, and other expensive jewelry. She appeared to him like a famous Bollywood star, or the daughter of the richest man in India. She is sexually hot and gorgeous. Her short panties, bare shoulders, long exposed legs, and big thighs and buttocks made her look like the sexiest girl in the whole world. Uncle Jimmy felt an irrepressible desire to make love to her. He has been a celibate since his arrest, and has had to stop himself from acting on his desires through masturbation. What he wants to do is make love to her in the street, just like dogs do in the third world. Likewise, Pooja's heart is overwhelmed with passion and sexual desire due to their first meeting in an exceedingly long time. When he reached out to her, took her in his arms, and began to kiss her on the lips, she felt like a virgin being touched for the first time. She is now completely under his control and follows his initiative. She will make love to him, if he asks for it, right then and there, in the street and public. The kissing of the unjustly separated lovers continued for more than 5 minutes. It was Jimmy who realized they were attracting curious onlookers. He released himself from the grip of his beloved girlfriend and told her about the onlookers they had attracted. Pooja was overcome with shame when she realized that her special moment with her Uncle Jimmy had been witnessed by more than 20 curious people. She blushed, so she hailed a taxi and pushed her lover into the back seat, and made her way to the cab behind him and sat near him. She shouted to the driver the name of her hotel, and they were soon on their way. As soon as the taxi started speeding up, Pooja again threw her arms around her lover, and they resumed kissing. While racing through the streets and highways, the cab seemed like the place to neck and caress. Pooja enjoyed his hands on her. He couldn't take his hands off her body. Happiness and excitement filled her heart, and the pleasure displaced the anxiety she had felt for a long time. Pooja never thought she would be able to see her Uncle Jimmy again. Now she was enjoying his touch everywhere, and her soul was filled with indescribable joy. It felt like they were truly on their wedding night for the first time. In her delirium, she said something to her lover that made him laugh. She told him whatever he wanted from her, she was ready to give him. She said, if he wants to take all her money, then it is his. She just wants to be with him forever. Jimmy responded that he was not interested in her money, but also wanted to be with her forever. Pooja told him, I love you so much, I feel like cutting off one of my breasts and cooking it for you. In an American context, this might seem gross and cannibalistic, but Jimmy understood what his beloved girlfriend meant, and her words spoke about her true love and strong feelings. No one has ever loved him as much as his former burqa girl Amrita Khan. Pooja and Jimmy spent 3 days in the hotel. It is the same place where they celebrated their wedding and enjoyed their honeymoon in the past. During those 3 days, their love revived and never seemed to leave their hearts. Steamy sex, passionate lovemaking, and amazing orgasms are on the menu day after day. Intimate lovers make up for the lost time. They fell into the ancient grove of sexual diversity, and their 3 wonderful days were filled with the classical Hindu sex patterns of the 18 Kama Sutras. Absence made their hearts grow fonder, and they both enjoyed the ecstasy of making love in full swing. Chapter 64. The Muslim women say polygamy is wrong. After 3 days of bliss, alone without any interference from the outside world, the police visited the two intimate lovers. A police officer advised the beloved Pooja that she needed to appear in court for a pre-trial hearing for her Hindu mother and Indian husband. She was also advised that she should find a lawyer to represent her in this matter, and that she could return to her home anytime she wanted. The officer in charge noticed the panic in her eyes and explained that the police were detaining her mother and husband, and would not allow them to return to her home even if they were released. If released on bail, they will not be allowed to come within 100 meters of her home. If they do so, she must call 911. Sweetheart Pooja smiled the biggest smile of her life when she realized that she was now free to continue her life with her beloved Uncle Jimmy in their golden castle. There will be no interference from a selfish husband she does not love, and a mother obsessed with her love and overbearing. On the same day, the lovers left the hotel and returned to their abandoned castle of love. The king and queen had not been able to return to their palace in the past, but now they had returned to the Golden House. It is the place where they lived together and completed each other. It was the place where the beautiful baby princess Rihanna needed to be with them. Pooja had already told Uncle Jimmy what had happened to her and their daughter under the cruel hand of her mother and the greed of her Hindu husband. She told him that the American police promised her that they would contact the New Delhi police and try to recover their stolen American daughter. After living for a few days with his beloved Hindu girlfriend Pooja in their golden castle, Uncle Jimmy decides to go visit his first Muslim wife Rehana Khan and his children. When he arrived at the gate of his first Muslim wife's house, he found the house's gate was closed with a huge lock and no one was there. Muslim neighbors informed him that his first wife and their children had left America and returned to India. Moreover, they said that his wife sold the house and returned to her motherland forever. Jimmy fell to his knees and started crying like a little boy who had suddenly lost his mother. He never expected his first Muslim wife to do something like this without his permission or informing him. Once Jimmy got over the impact of the painful news, he went to one of the leaders of the Muslim community to ask for his advice and counsel. The house was in his first wife's name because she was the one who bought it with her own money when they had newly arrived in America. After being miraculously released from a women's prison in Jeddah City, and having her life saved by an American CIA team from the cruel punishment of stoning to death, Rehana Khan received from the Saudi royal family $1 million in compensation. When she arrived in the United States, she used some of that money to buy a house and a taxi for her husband. Therefore, Jamal Khan did not contribute anything to the purchase. However, American law will not allow his wife to take his children from him and return to India forever without his knowledge and consent. For this reason, he tends to go directly to the police and file a complaint against his first Muslim wife, accusing her of kidnapping his children. After rethinking, Jimmy decided to go to a Muslim religious leader and ask his advice before going to the police. When Jimmy arrived at the Muslim community leader's office, he was faced with another unpleasant surprise. The religious leader handed him his official divorce certificate entrusted to him by his former Muslim wife, Rehana Khan. The leader told him that his ex-wife went to court and asked for a divorce. He also told him that the court granted her a divorce on the grounds of adultery and polygamy. Jimmy received notice of the upcoming action while in prison, but threw the papers away thinking his first Muslim wife couldn't be serious. Whenever the guards handed him court papers, he would sign the summons and throw the papers in the trash, thinking he would make things right once he was released from prison. With trembling hands, Jamal Khan received the divorce decree. He tried to find out from his religious leader the reason for his first wife's decision to leave the United States and return to India. The Muslim leader gently told Jamal Khan that he had tried to ascertain why she had fled America and had tried to prevent her from acting hastily, but to no avail. He also said that his ex-wife did not tell anyone about the reasons for her return to India. The religious leader told Jimmy that no sane Indian could leave the promised land of infidels, flowing with honey and money, and return to the hellish land of India from which he came. Rehana Khan leaving with her children remained a mystery that no Indian Muslim could explain. After receiving this heartbreaking news of his divorce, Jamal Khan went to some Muslim girlfriends close to his ex-wife and tried to find out from them why his first Muslim wife decided to divorce him, take his children, and return to India. None of them were able to help him or give him an acceptable explanation. All of them collectively believe that his shameful relationship with the Hindu girl was the main reason, which prompted his first Muslim wife to divorce him and punish him by depriving him of his children. They told him, a Muslim woman cannot tolerate her husband having a sexual relationship with another woman. Jimmy told them that he married the second Muslim woman in accordance with the Holy Quran of God and the blessed Sunnah of his infallible Prophet Muhammad. The Muslim women told him exactly how they felt, and said to him that no Muslim woman would agree to share her husband with another woman even if their religion allowed it. A Muslim woman went down the record, and she is one of the boldest Muslim women in America, and her name is supposed to enter the Guinness Book of World Records when she said to Jamal Khan to his face, even if God permitted it in his Holy Quran or his infallible Prophet Muhammad permitted it in his blessed Sunnah, and he did it while he was alive, it's still wrong. Polygamy is very evil and wrong. From those conversations and exchanges with Muslim women, Jimmy learned a great lesson in wisdom. He discovered that for more than 2 years, he had been trying to love 2 women and treat them as equals. His experience proved that marrying 2 women at the same time and trying to love and treat them equally is practically impossible. He understood that no man in the world could love and satisfy 2 women at the same time. He concluded that his relationship with his first Muslim wife died the first day he fell in love with the little girl he picked up in front of the women's prison. Since then he has been trying to fulfill a religious duty and selfishly imprison his first wife to be close to his children. His marital indiscretions cost him his first wife and children and sent him to prison for 2 years. Now all he has is a criminal record and the remorse that will follow him for the rest of his life. Jamal Khan recalled how his ex-wife, Rehana Khan, was loving and loyal to him. When he was sentenced to 14 years in prison with hard labor in the city of Bombay, his beloved girlfriend Rehana Khan spent a lot of money to get him out of that corrupt, dirty prison after he spent 3 terrifying years behind bars. She is the one who brought him with her to the promised land for many peoples of the Third World, the United States of America. If it were not for her, he would be there to this day suffering and rotting in the most treacherous prison in the world, which is euphemistically and metaphorically called the Indian prison. When they came to America, she was the one who took care of him and encouraged him to work as a taxi driver. It was she who bought him a car and allowed him to use it in his taxi service. She gave him 2 beautiful sons. She made her first son, Irfan Khan, whom she conceived and gave birth to through rape in the women's prison in Jeddah City, treat him like his father. After all this, what reward did the Muslim husband Jamal Khan give to his loving and devoted Muslim wife Rehana Khan? He fell in love with a young girl like his own daughter and forgot his commitment to the mother of his children and his beloved and faithful wife. He deprived his first Muslim wife of her rights as a wife to be loved and honored and treated her as if she were a babysitter for their children. After falling in love with the young Indian girl, he lost interest in his first Muslim wife and rarely slept with her. When she learned that he had married another woman, and that there was a child from his second secret marriage, she did not kick him out of her house or ask for a divorce. She tolerated his betrayal and continued to respect him as her husband. Jimmy realizes too late that his mistake was not being grateful to the woman who stood by him during exceedingly difficult times for the sake of just an affair. He cried bitterly over his grave mistake and the loss of his family. Jimmy still believes that his Indian girlfriend, Aphrodite Krishna Khan, was behind his unjustified divorce and the sudden departure of his first Muslim wife. He believed that Amrita Khan threatened his wife Rehana Khan and made her run away to protect her life and the lives of her children. After all, Aphrodite had a lot of money, and she could have paid someone enough to terrorize Rehana into leaving the country and fleeing to India. So, Uncle Jimmy returned to his girlfriend Pooja Patel's mansion and had a big fight with her. He accused her of forcing his Muslim wife to divorce him and leave the country. He also accused her of paying some dangerous American gangsters to scare his first Muslim wife and their children. Pooja cried like a little girl and vehemently denied all the accusations he made against her. When Jimmy threatened to leave her forever, his ex-wife, Pooja, fell in front of him, grabbed his legs, kissed his feet while on her knees, and begged him not to leave her. She told him how much she had gone through and how much she had sacrificed to be with him again. She said that she abandoned her loving Hindu mother Rani Krishna and ran away from her educated Hindu husband Rahul Patel because of her love for him. For his love, she left her homeland, India, and returned to America after being away from him for several months. The long separation did not make her forget him or make her lose her love for him. She told him that she would pay for everything, including flight tickets and hotel accommodation, if he wanted to go to India to search for his first Muslim wife and children, and she even said that she would go with him. She will travel with him to Bombay and help him find his family. They can also search for their stolen infant daughter, Rehana, at the Christian orphanage in New Delhi. Additionally, she said that she would love to return to India to search for her beloved Muslim biological mother, Rehana Khan. Her tears and pleas somehow convinced her Uncle Jimmy that she was sincere and had nothing to do with his first wife's decision to divorce him and leave America. Although Jimmy believed her words, he told her that he would not leave any stone unturned to find out why his first Muslim wife divorced him, took his children, fled America, and returned to India. Chapter 65. Complaint against incest. After appointing a legal advisor and several court appearances in the incest case, Pooja Patel, who also goes by the names Aphrodite Krishna Khan, Amrita Khan, and Ifat Khan, received an official letter from the court informing her that her marriage to Mr. Rahul Patel has been declared void of any marital bond based on reasons of coercion and blackmail. Therefore, she is no longer legally obligated to live with her ex-husband. The CIA secured the release of the baby girl of Pooja Patel from the Malayali Christian orphanage in New Delhi with the help of Indian Central Government services and Indian police officials. The infant daughter, Rehana, was then returned to her parents in the United States of America. Soon after reuniting with their daughter, Pooja and Jimmy got married again. The lovers found it socially unacceptable to raise their daughter as unmarried sexual partners, something immigrants from third world countries, especially those from Islamic countries, rarely do. Once again, the lovers said their wedding vows to each other. But this time they did not hide behind a mosque imam or a Hindu pundit behind a sari veil, but got married in a civil ceremony. Father, mother, and daughter traveled to Hawaii and enjoyed 2 weeks in earthly paradise. The two lovers enjoyed their second civil marriage and their second honeymoon 100 times more than they had enjoyed their first halal Islamic marriage. The presence of their beautiful daughter, Rehana, increased their joy and happiness. After returning from Hawaii, the newly married couple lived in Pooja's luxurious house. Their return was not without trouble, as Pooja's Hindu mother Rani Krishna once again challenged the legality of her daughter's second marriage to the evil Muslim men who brainwashed her and deprived her of her daughter. While in prison awaiting trial, Rani Krishna informed her lawyer that Mr. Jamal Khan was her adopted daughter's stepfather and therefore, according to American law, could not marry his stepdaughter. Accordingly, Rani accused her daughter Pooja and Mr. Jamal Khan of incest. The police did not issue an immediate separation warrant to the newly married couple on the grounds of an incestuous relationship. They first decided to confirm the relationship between the couple. The first place where the police began their investigation was the address of his former first Muslim wife, Rehana Khan. The police visit revealed that Rehana left America and returned with her children to India. They went to the house of the suspects Jamal Khan and Pooja Khan. Jamal and Pooja strongly denied any family closeness between them at the time of their first Islamic marriage. Pooja told the police that her biological mother, a Muslim woman, lives in Mumbai and has never traveled to America before. Jamal told police that his ex-wife had 2 sons together. He admitted that his ex-wife had given birth to a son from a previous relationship before he married her. He also said that the boy's name was Irfan Khan, who adopted him as his son according to American customs. In addition, he recalled that his ex-wife had a 7-year-old daughter with whom she traveled from India to Saudi Arabia many years ago. But Jamal Khan failed to remember the name of his ex-stepdaughter. Upon her return to Bombay, his girlfriend Rehana Khan told him that she had lost her daughter in a car accident while they were living in Jeddah City. In Rehana Khan's absence, the police were unable to conduct a standard DNA test to verify Rani's claim. As usual, investigations of the 2 suspects revealed that they both had criminal records. Jamal Khan's history did not reveal much except that he was convicted of polygamy. He was imprisoned for 2 years, fined $10,000 as debt to society. Pooja Khan's criminal record revealed a lot to the police. She was convicted by a Mumbai court on charges of perjury and lying to court in a character assassination attempt against a high-ranking film director in the Bollywood film industry. She was imprisoned for nearly a year before the charges were dropped in her favor. After her release, she won the Miss India contest. After that, she participated in the beauty pageant held in London and won the title of Miss World. When she arrived in America 3 years ago, she was accused by her cousin's ex-girlfriend of being a Muslim terrorist and detained for a month and a half, but was acquitted of all charges when the FBI was unable to confirm the accusations. Through information provided by her Hindu mother, Rani Krishna, the police learned that Pooja Khan had become her adopted Muslim daughter. Rani was unable to provide any concrete evidence to prove that Pooja's real mother is the woman to whom Jamal Khan was married for more than 11 years. Somewhere along the line, the former Indian Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan's criminal record found its way into the media. One of the most popular newspapers published an article titled "Former Indian Miss World in an Incestuous Relationship with Stepfather." An attention-grabbing headline has an extraordinarily long and detailed reveal of information that follows it. Her previously undisclosed history was covered by the FBI. It stated that the former Indian Miss World made a statement that angered millions of Muslims around the world and stirred religious feelings. She said in her last interview at the Miss World competition in London, "The Prophet Muhammad is under my feet," and she also said, she is fully prepared to spit on the Holy Quran. However, the newspaper did not mention in what context Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan made those allegedly inflammatory statements about the Prophet of Islam and the Muslim Holy Book. Many criticized the newspaper for revealing confidential and sensitive matters related to the former Miss World, which unnecessarily exposed her to the threat of Islamic militants and Muslim terrorists. The newspaper also indicated that the second runner-up was forced to intervene to fulfill her obligations as Miss World and a goodwill ambassador due to threats against the life of Aphrodite Krishna Khan. Meanwhile, the court heard the charges against Rani Krishna and Rahul Patel. The jury found them guilty as charged. Accordingly, the judge sentenced Rani Krishna to 20 years in prison and Rahul Patel to 30 years in prison on all charges. As they had no previous convictions, the sentences were reduced to 5 and 10 years, respectively. Then the court ruled that the $5 million that Mother Rani Krishna took from her adopted daughter's account as dowry and transferred to Rahul Patel's account in the so-called arranged Indian marriage was an act of theft and a felony. The court ordered the bank to transfer the money to Mrs. Pooja Khan's account. As a result, 2 days later the stolen $5 million appeared on Pooja's account. The court also considered the fact that Pooja Patel became pregnant by her illegitimate husband, Rahul Patel, and as such constituted rape by her unwilling participant. The court ruled that she had every right to choose whether to abort or keep the child. Pooja wanted to keep the child, but her Muslim husband Jamal Khan convinced her to get rid of the ill-gotten child and cut off all ties with her former alleged Hindu husband. Therefore, Pooja agreed to abort the child before the end of the first 3 months of her pregnancy. But Jamal Khan would not do that, and his wife, Pooja Khan, did not bother the trouble of trying to find out whether abortion is murder or not, and if they had done so, they would have known that abortion is not only murder, but a sin and a crime against the innocent baby, and that this could bring the curse of God upon the family. Moreover, the court dropped incest charges against Pooja Khan and Jamal Khan. The police discovered that Rehana Khan had divorced her husband before returning to India. Therefore, the court concluded that whether Rehana Khan is Pooja Khan's biological mother or not, the charges are invalid and have no legal offense on the basis that she divorced her husband before leaving America. The divorce severed any family relationship between Jamal and Pooja, if such a relationship existed at all. Meanwhile, the condemned Hindu mother Rani Krishna repented for some of her sins and accepted her 5-year prison sentence as punishment from her Hindu gods for the terrible sins she had committed against the innocent Muslim child Rehana of her adopted daughter. But she refused to see that she had done anything wrong by trying to separate her Hindu daughter, Pooja Patel, from her evil Muslim kidnapper and rapist, Jamal Khan, known as Uncle Jimmy. Moreover, she cries day and night in prison because she lost her adopted daughter, and her stupid daughter returned to captivity in the hands of her Muslim abuser. She cannot reconcile the fact that Pooja will reject the woman who bailed her out twice, took her into her Bombay home, adopted her as her own daughter, and finally made her Miss World, and go to her evil Muslim kidnapper, rapist and captor, a decade older than her, and whom she still calls my Uncle Jimmy. These are some of the thoughts that disturb Rani Krishna's heart in prison. However, the second convicted criminal Rahul Patel developed a bitter vengeful spirit against the so-called smelly black burqa girl. He curses his mother's sister for taking the Bollywood prostitute, Iranian Muslim heroine Aphrodite Khan, out of the women's prison in Bombay and adopting her as her own daughter. He knew that if the film director, Rani Krishna, had not brought such an evil Muslim girl into the noble and wealthy Hindu Krishna family in which his late mother, Lakshmi Patel, was born and raised, he would not have been convicted as a kidnapper, rapist, and thief, and imprisoned in American soil for 10 long years. He also understood that he would not be able to fulfill his life's desire, and his late mother's heart's dream for her son to become a foreign doctor graduated from the best medical school in the USA, Harvard University. He knows that in 10 years he will not be accepted back into Harvard's medical program. He will come out of prison with an ugly criminal record. He concluded that that evil Muslim terrorist girl destroyed his life and transformed him overnight from a hero to a zero. For this reason, he swore by his Hindu gods and goddesses, Rama, Krishna, Durga, and Lakshmi, that when he gets out of prison, he will search for her in all American 50 states, and when he puts his hands on her, he will skin her dirty skin while she is alive. He even invoked an oath to his monkey warrior god Hanuman that he would burn her adulterous body with fire and reduce it to ashes. Chapter 66. Miss World and American Feminists. After the trial, former Miss India World Aphrodite Krishna Khan and her Muslim husband Jamal Khan, known as Uncle Jimmy, felt free to live and enjoy their lives forever. Those who planned their eternal separation received just punishment under American law. Now everything seems to be going their way. They have one of the most beautiful daughters in the world. They have millions of dollars in the bank. They have an exceptionally beautiful home. They have a new car. They have everything a new family wants and needs. All the entertainment they desired was purchased and installed in their castle of love. Most importantly, they are now free to love openly without fear or shame. From the depths of oppression and abuse, they are now among the happiest people on earth. They kept their daily lives simple, enjoying each other on a never-ending holiday sequence. The rich wife once again forbade her lover from doing any work. She just wants him to be by her side, giving her the love she has been denied since her childhood. She has spent many years of her life providing cruel and humiliating pleasure to two other selfish villains, the hunchbacked old bedfellow, the square-headed squaw Sheikh Ahmed, and the notorious womanizer and film director Mahmoud Khan, and her time with her handsome lover, Uncle Jimmy, is a therapy of sorts, or closure if you will. Her simple pleasure is enhanced when she remembers the difficult times she spent with her former kidnappers and rapists, Sheikh Faiz bin Ahmed, Mahmoud Khan, and Rahul Patel, and the abuses she suffered in the filthy Indian prison cells in the cities of Bombay and Pune. No matter how much fate she wanted, she was always vulnerable to abuse, and wherever fate came, she was exploited and abused. Her previous existence was filled with heartaches and body pain that didn't know the way out. Her long journey through life was filled with abuse and a broken childhood. Her personality has been stripped of life since she was 7 years old when she began living in terror and captivity under the control of others. Now she is free to live and love. Pooja's beautiful daughter, Rehana, is so sweet. She made her understand the concept of unconditional love. Now, a simple child filled her life with the indescribable joy of being alive. Pooja nervously confessed to her husband Jimmy that she loved him, but admitted that she loved their daughter more. Her husband told her that a mother's love for her child cannot be compared to any other love in the world. Therefore, the two happy, miraculously united lovers decided to have more children soon. In that perfect married life and earthly paradise in the promised land, Pooja felt that she did not lack anything, and that she did not need anything to make her happiness more complete. She just wants her daughter and husband always by her side. She did not shed a single tear over the just condemnation of her Hindu mother Rani Krishna, or her alleged husband Rahul Patel. She understood that they both had received just punishments from God for the evils they had committed against her and her innocent child. However, one day, the happy Khan family decided to attend an important social event. The former Indian Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan has been invited by a group of American feminist activists to appear as a keynote speaker and share her bitter experiences with men. They want her to share her experience of marrying a 70-year-old Saudi man when she was a 7-year-old child, and later as an adult. Her Hindu mother forced her to marry her close relative, the son of her late Auntie Lakshmi Patel. The trial on charges of incest brought some publicity to her life, and with it a detailed past. It has become clear to many that she is one of the most violated women in the world. The American feminists want to show by sharing her experience how women can become victims in society with little or no protection from the law. At the time of her invitation, she was told that the gathering included women from all walks of life. Her inviters reminded her that there were Muslim sisters in their American feminist group, and that she should respect their religious feelings and social sensibilities by not speaking against Islam or the Prophet Muhammad. She was also reminded that the United Nations recently decided to issue a resolution criminalizing attacks on Islam, so she was advised to narrate her bitter experiences with evil men without referring to Islam or citing Quranic verses or hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad. Specifically, she was told never to mention the marriage of the Prophet Muhammad to his child wife, Aisha. They also asked her to talk about the recent trial of her bad Hindu husband and the reason for his conviction and imprisonment. The American feminists wanted a balanced portrayal, and to emphasize the fact that her abuse occurred regardless of the offender's religion. They seek to prove to their audience that the mistreatment of women is a real and ongoing reality, whether of men from Muslim, Hindu, Jewish or Christian communities. They also wisely asked her to conclude her speech by mentioning her current loving Muslim husband, Jamal Khan. Overall, they are incredibly careful to coach the guest speaker, former Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan, on what she should talk about and what she should not mention at all. The American feminists did not leave any loophole for any possible attack on Islam by their spokeswoman. They deliberately ignored the responses of Muslims at the Miss World event in London. Some of her hosts had already done their online research homework on her background and realized that what she said about the Holy Quran and the Prophet of Islam at the Miss World competition in London was a pivotal point in her life, prompting some of her critics to describe her actions as a vicious and provoked attack on Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. They did not ask her about her pioneering and successful acting role as a beautiful Iranian Muslim heroine in a Bollywood film. They only want her to talk about her violations and nothing about her successes. The American feminists and all other Western students have been brainwashed by their schools and universities about the true teachings of Islam. Unfortunately, in many Western universities and high schools, Islam is always presented to students as a good and peaceful religion. Radical Muslims and Islamic terrorists are seen as carrying a twisted version of Islam. Muslim men who mistreat their women are believed to be violating their Prophet Muhammad's loving teachings on the treatment of women. These Western educational institutes deliberately ignore and suppress any evil teachings of Islam. For example, Islam has imposed many misogynistic teachings and evil practices against women such as female genital mutilation, child marriage, forced marriage, wife beating, polygamy, temporary enjoyment marriage or temporary sexual pleasure, and forced wearing of the hijab, including niqab and burqa. Or burkina, abaya, and jilbab, honor killings, forced illiteracy of women, forced isolation, and solitary confinement in the home, among countless other evils imposed by Islam on females. In fact, in many Muslim countries, women are forbidden from going to school, working, praying in the mosque, the gym, public parks, swimming at the beach or public swimming pools, or wearing trousers, shirts, shorts or panties, or driving a car, motorcycle, or bike. They are prevented from falling in love or choosing their life partners. All these restrictions and practices against women are considered by American feminists to be Arab customs and have nothing to do with Islam. However, the simple fact is that these restrictions on women are widely practiced in many Islamic countries and societies, and have religious justifications derived from the Quran and the authentic hadiths of the Prophet Muhammad. Muslim professors and researchers in the West turn a blind eye to these evil practices and instruct their students and readers that Islam honors women, places them in the highest social status, and equates them with their male counterparts. On the contrary, Christianity is taught in Western universities and schools as a backward religion that for many years tried to prevent scientific discoveries and the modernity movement, and was behind the Dark Ages in Europe. Writing or speaking negatively about Islam is almost a crime in some Western universities. Western students are not encouraged to consult the internet or the media to learn about Islam. A student may fail his or her exams, or get low grades if he or she disobeys his or her professor and writes negative things about the Prophet Muhammad. Meanwhile, more than 2,000 feminist women crowded into the hall where former Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan was scheduled to speak. Most of them are American women, with a fairly large number of Muslim women. The Islamic unit consists mostly of female students from nearby high schools and universities. There is a strong media presence, as she was informed that she does not have to answer questions asked by the audience after her speech, and she does not need to answer media questions or give any interviews. On the day of her speech to feminist crowds, the former Miss World faced a last-minute snag. She had planned to arrive in her new Mercedes with her Muslim husband, Uncle Jimmy, as her driver because she had not yet obtained her driver's permit. As is the case with all famous women, the beautiful Iranian heroine and Bollywood actress took the time and effort to look her best. After all, she is a former Miss India World. She wore a dress purchased especially for her evening speech, and thought she would complement the ensemble with her crown. The idea of wearing a crown seemed appropriate to her husband, but he decided not to hurt her feelings by saying anything. By this time, Jimmy has become accustomed to his young wife's childish and embarrassing behaviors. On that day, Pooja Khan was happy and excited. The preparation and urgency reminded her of days gone by when she was a Miss World contestant in London. She spent hours applying makeup and even more getting dressed. Her Muslim husband kept reminding her to hurry so as not to be late for her appointment. He and their daughter, Rihanna, have been dressing up for a long time. Finally, after all the finishing touches were put on her long hair and makeup, the lovely beauty queen Aphrodite Krishna Khan came out of the dressing room and stood in front of her husband, Uncle Jimmy. She looked amazingly beautiful and attractive in her new dress. If he didn't want to smear her makeup and risk waiting another hour, he might have taken her in his arms and kissed her lips. Even though she looked gorgeous, Jimmy noticed that his beloved wife had forgotten to wear the Miss World crown. He decided not to mention it to her and secretly hoped she wouldn't remember it. Somehow, the idea of her appearing before American feminist guests with a crown on her head didn't sit well with him. It's awkward and uncomfortable and doesn't fit that particular social situation. Thinking to himself that maybe a tiara would be a better choice than a big Miss World crown, the husband then led his wife towards the garage while carrying their child, Rihanna, heading towards their beautiful waiting car. Meanwhile, in the audience auditorium, more than 2,000 women await the arrival of the important guest speaker. The large gathering is for feminists and no men or even male animals are invited. Even the media girls don't have a single male journalist squeezed in between them. For many women, this will be a historic day. Many women went to the trouble of arriving just 2 hours early to ensure good front seats. The distinguished female speakers often arrived a little later than scheduled, and many of the female guests shifted and fidgeted anxiously in their seats, wondering when the beautiful Indian speaker would arrive. After an hour of impatient waiting, the feminist leaders began to look visibly uncomfortable and called her residence repeatedly, only to be greeted by an answering machine. Jimmy Khan and Aphrodite Khan are not home. Please leave a short message with your phone number, and we will reply to you as soon as possible. These feminist leaders have left many messages without any result. With no cell phone number to call and 2 hours of tense waiting, the meeting was finally called off. The feminist leaders apologized to the large audience of women for the inconvenience caused by the absence of the Indian speaker. However, these ladies seethed in their hearts with anger at this irresponsible Indian woman who did not show up or call to explain the reason for her absence, as required by etiquette in such critical situations. Even her Muslim husband, Mr. Jamal Khan, did not call or show up to explain the reason behind the absence of his Muslim wife, Mrs. Aphrodite Krishna Khan. The organizing committee of the Angry American Feminist celebration decided to find out why the guest speaker was not attending. They decided that if she had no legitimate reason for her absence, they would sue her for the costs involved in organizing the important event and the damage she had done to the name of their feminist group. Some of the most vocal members went on the record and have gone on to say to themselves and each other that the only acceptable excuse for former Miss India Aphrodite Krishna Khan's absence would be physical disability, kidnapping, murder, or sudden death through a fatal car accident or major heart attack. Chapter 67. The Cowardly Islamic Terrorist Attack on Miss World. The American feminists could not get an answer to their discontent until they returned home. The news broadcast about the deadly Islamic terrorist attack on a Muslim family answered the questions of the angry American feminist activists and calmed their boiling anger. Every TV channel showed a terrorist attack on a Muslim family. According to the news, a group of Muslim terrorists managed to enter the Khan family home at some point and planted bombs in their car. The family of three, the husband Jamal Khan, his wife Pooja Khan, and their daughter Rehana Khan, were scheduled to appear at a major feminist public gathering. After leaving their garage to begin their travel to the intended location, the bombs were detonated remotely. According to eyewitnesses, the powerful explosion raised the car to the height of a 3-story building, causing it to explode into pieces. The remains of family members were scattered in a large area of the neighborhood. None of the family members survived the cowardly Islamic terrorist attack. Furthermore, the media reported that the FBI did not reveal the motive behind the attack nor name any suspects, indicating that the matter is currently under investigation. But the local police authority hinted that the Muslim terrorists had carried out a revenge operation against Mrs. Khan over a statement she made when she was crowned Miss World in London. In her statement, Mrs. Khan likened the Prophet Muhammad to her foot or shoe, in response to an interview question that was put to her during the final stage of the beauty pageant. She also threatened to spit on the holy books of Islam, such as the Holy Quran and books of authentic prophetic hadiths, because, according to her, they teach and encourage pedophilia and the sexual exploitation of female children, which she claimed she was a victim of in the early years from her childhood. As a result, some Indian Muslim terrorists attempted to assassinate the new Miss World upon her return to her country, India, but she was able to thwart their attempts at Mumbai International Airport. Fearing for her life, Mrs. Khan immigrated to the United States of America and lived her life in isolation underground. During her self-imposed exile, Mrs. Khan hid her identity in a black Islamic burqa and never showed her face in public. Her identity as former Miss Indian World Aphrodite Krishna Khan was largely suppressed, and she even passed herself off as Hindu, taking the name Pooja Patel. She officially converted to Hinduism at the time of her first marriage in New Delhi, but eventually divorced her Hindu husband and began an incestuous relationship with her mother's former biological husband, a Muslim man. After eloping with her stepfather, Pooja converted to Islam again and married him. Her Hindu ex-husband questioned Pooja's new marriage to her stepfather and accused them of incest. However, the U.S. court dismissed her case because her Muslim mother had already divorced her husband, thus removing any family ties. Ultimately, further investigation revealed that the stepdaughter Pooja Khan had cohabited and had already had sexual intercourse with her stepfather Jamal Khan in the past, and had a love child with him before the divorce occurred, making her guilty of incest. According to the news, Muslim terrorists wanted to kill former Indian Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan from the first day of her alleged blasphemy, but they simply could not locate her hiding place. The big break for the Muslim terrorists who had been hounding her for so long came when her recent legal dispute with her Hindu mother, Rani Krishna, who adopted and converted her to Hinduism, and her Indian husband, Rahul Patel, generated nationwide media coverage and created quite the genre of publicity she didn't need. The FBI surmised that the Islamic terrorists had no difficulty finding her address and planning her murder afterward. It didn't take more than a few hours for the FBI to find evidence and leads, which led them to their first two suspects. Police gathered important evidence from neighbors about a car that arrived at midnight, the night before the Muslim terrorist attack, and stopped in front of the home of the Khan family. Eyewitness reports indicate two strange young men lurking in the upscale neighborhood and hanging out in front of the Khan family home near the garage. Witnesses noticed their suspicious behavior and duly noted down the car's license plate. At the time, the neighbors did not file a police report because there was no direct evidence of wrongdoing or that the two young men were in fact Muslim terrorists. Their doubts were also dispelled when they realized that Khan's Muslim family was of foreign origin and therefore, they thought they might be related to them. The cowardly, violent, and deadly Islamic terrorist attack on Khan members shook the entire neighborhood and prompted witnesses to connect the dots. It seems highly likely that the two suspicious characters were not up to good intentions. They gave their notes to law enforcement officials who took them from there. Now a federal crime, the FBI launched a statewide search for the car's owner and occupants, with orders to arrest and detain the occupants, who were presumed to be armed and dangerous. The vehicle was intercepted by a highway patrol unit several miles from the city. The two young men who were in the car were American citizens who were born to Somali families who immigrated many years ago from a refugee camp in Nairobi, Kenya, and settled in Minneapolis, Minnesota state. While in custody, and after a short interrogation, the FBI was able to conclusively locate the two suspects at the crime scene. The suspects were active members of a local Islamic terrorist cell based in the United States. They specialized in recruiting jihadists for the Muslim terrorist group Al-Shabaab in Mogadishu, which represents the Al-Qaeda faction in Somalia. Most of its members are young Somalis who were born and raised in foreign countries, and eventually returned to their motherland to join the Islamic Mujahideen in Mogadishu. Al-Shabaab leaders always exploit returning youth. Their exposure to foreign languages, different countries, and different cultures made them highly regarded as useful Muslim terrorists. They will be given top priority in military combat, explosives, munitions training, and operational and logistics education. Upon completion of their training, they will be deployed to their country of birth or naturalization and await mobilization instructions. The group has not carried out any previous Islamic terrorist attacks in the United States. Their focus is on identifying, recruiting, radicalizing Somali youth, and encouraging them to join the global jihad movement. The jihad movement, which has its roots in Osama bin Laden's organization and now poses a global threat, helps Somali youth return to Somalia after convincing them to join Al-Shabaab. They will return as full-fledged sleeper cells, far more effective than the typical local Somali recruit. Ongoing investigations by the FBI have revealed how the three members of the Muslim Khan family were eliminated. The suspects easily planted bombs and booby-trapped the family's remote-controlled car inside the garage. It was around midnight while the Khan family was sleeping, when the suspects planted two explosive devices under the family car, covered their tracks, and left the house. They returned to their car parked outside where they spent the night sleeping, 1 block away from their target. They slept and rested in shifts until 12:30 p.m. In the afternoon, they noticed the three members of the Khan family, father, mother, and daughter, leaving the garage of their house. The moment the Muslim family's car reverses and exits into the street, the two Muslim terrorists detonated the double explosive devices placed under the car. By the time ambulances, fire engines, and a fleet of police cars arrived, the two suspects had long fled. The three members of the Khan family are not the only human victims of the cowardly Islamic terrorist attack. The massive size of the explosion claimed the lives of passers-by and neighbors who happened to be outside enjoying their day or going to work. According to eyewitnesses, the powerful bombs exploded the bodies of passers-by and pushed them to an incredible height. The bodies of those victims exploded into pieces and were scattered over a wide area. Members of one particular family were frightened to death when the severed head of a male victim arrived at their fifth-floor apartment, broke their window panes, and finally entered their living room, where they were watching television. That severed human head caused indescribable terror for their children and women. The police noted injuries, deaths, car accidents, heart attacks, and fainting spells among residents. They were all taken to local hospitals. The bodies of the three Khans were among the last to be evacuated. While the media reported numerous accounts of how events unfolded, they collectively focused on the cause of the Islamist terrorist attack and attributed it to a single provocative statement uttered by the victim, former Miss India and Miss World Aphrodite Krishna Khan. One news bureau went so far as to say that uttering such a provocative, religiously charged opinion at an annual, internationally broadcast global event like the Miss World contest in London was like digging one's own grave. Indian Muslim beauty queen Aphrodite Krishna Khan has been blamed for her sudden and cruel death. The FBI has remained mum on the fate of the Muslim wife Pooja Khan. They allowed the media to continue spreading the news that Mrs. Khan was killed inside the car alongside her husband and daughter. They did not reveal additional information about the case of members of the Muslim Khan family until after the two suspects were arrested and interrogated. According to the latest FBI statement, at the time the car's bombs were detonated by remote control, Mrs. Khan was not inside, but her husband and daughter were in it, so they were killed instantly. Mrs. Khan's body was found lying unconscious on the doorstep of the house. The FBI speculated that the Muslim wife Mrs. Khan may have returned home to get something she had forgotten. At a press conference, the FBI stated that police may not be able to provide an accurate explanation for why Mrs. Khan was not inside the car when the cowardly Islamic terrorist attack occurred until the victim was mentally and physically fit to be questioned. A hospital source indicated that Mrs. Khan is still in a coma from the shock of the explosion, but she is currently in a stable condition, and there are no wounds or life-threatening damage to her body. The police ended the conference by saying that Mrs. Khan miraculously survived the assassination attempt planned by Muslim terrorists, but unfortunately, she lost her husband, Jamal Khan, and their only daughter, Rehana Khan, in the cowardly terrorist attack. 3 days later, Mrs. Pooja Khan emerged from a long coma. She can't utter a single word. The only parts of her body that move are her eyes. Her eyes stared aimlessly at the ceiling, reacting only to the light. She could not answer the questions of any of the medical staff or police officers who tried to speak to her. The hospital doctor who gave her last diagnosis ordered her to be transferred from the intensive care unit to another ward, but kept her in a private room. Needless to say, there is an FBI presence, and all employees and other cleaning crew are physically screened, and their identity is verified. Exceptions are granted as a courtesy to local police officials. The FBI's police authority knows she remains a prime target for Islamic terrorists. The Somali Muslims failed to assassinate her this time, but they will undoubtedly continue trying. The FBI was not able to speak to Pooja Khan until 1 week later. She came out of silence and came to terms with her situation, and cried hysterically over her huge family loss. She understood that the death of her husband and daughter at the same time meant the end of her life. She concluded that she could not live without them. If she had been given the choice, she would have willingly given her body to be slaughtered by Muslim terrorists, instead of killing her loving husband and beloved daughter. Pooja Khan became suicidal and decided to end her life the moment she had the opportunity to do so. Meanwhile, it took the police a long time to figure out how she managed to escape the deadly terrorist attack. Slowly, and with great patience, they realized that moments before the bombs planted under the booby-trapped car exploded, Mrs. Khan had remembered that she had left her Miss World crown in the dressing room, and had rushed to get it. But before she got out of the car and went back to get her crown, she asked her husband to move their car out of the garage, and that she would join them on the street. Moments after the house closed again and she left with the crown on her head, she remembered something flashing and a loud noise that numbed her ears and paralyzed her body, but she did not remember anything else. She never expected something like this to happen to her husband and daughter. She said that her husband was born and raised a Muslim and never spoke a single word against his religion, Islam, either the Holy Quran, or his Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. She did not understand why the Muslims decided to kill her along with her peaceful husband and innocent daughter. She asked the police while crying, "What did my beloved Muslim husband and our innocent little daughter do to the Muslims that they wanted to kill them? They didn't deserve to die." FBI agents had long understood the mentality of Muslim terrorists, but they couldn't find the words to answer her question, and they couldn't offer her any comfort. They could only try to protect her from further Islamic terrorist attacks. This story will continue in Book 4 under the title Christina and the Complete Jew. About the author of this novel. Dr. A. Ahmed is a novelist and scholar. He holds 5 university degrees: bachelor's, master's, and doctorate. He earned a doctorate in philosophy and comparative studies of religion from the University of Bombay, India, and A.B.A. and M.A. in religious studies and philosophy from a prestigious university in Canada. He earned a doctorate in philosophy and comparative studies of religion from the University of Bombay, India, and B.A. and MA in Religious Studies and Philosophy from a prestigious university in Canada. He was born and raised a Muslim, but through his studies of philosophy and comparative studies of religions, he converted to Christianity. He has a unique writing style that can penetrate any religious, social, and cultural barriers and reveal the truth as it is. Moreover, his books rely on eyewitnesses because he witnessed with his own eyes the miserable conditions that Muslim women live in, which are inspired by the misogynistic teachings of Islam. He has written 25 books, but has so far published 10 of them. His books were written in English and translated by him into Arabic. All of his books revolve around women's issues in Islamic societies and terrorism in Islam. Some of his novels are available to listen to them for free on his YouTube's pages, as he narrates them in his voice in English and Arabic.